What's up YouTube? So it seems you guys are enjoying my phase plant tutorial videos, and today I kind of want to dumb it down a little bit. I want to kind of do something which is sort of included in the tutorials and the manual of the plugin, but I kind of want to take it to the next level because it's something that still gets asked quite often in forums, and I actually get messages about it quite often, is where is the arpeggiator in Kilohearts phase plant? And there actually isn't an arpeggiator module. As far as I know, they are looking at maybe adding one in a future update. So that may make this video null and void. But that being said, there's a couple of cool techniques in here that I kind of want to outline for you guys. A couple of cool things, different ways to approach sequencing and creating arpeggiators in a sort of more modulation style approach. So anyway, without giving away too much, let's dive in and have a look. So I've got this track that I've kind of thrown together for a couple of tutorials. I've been working on it for the last couple of weeks, and I figured I'm going to use just like the kick and bass and percussions and a couple of like the synth effects as a kind of basis to show you guys a couple of cool arpeggiator techniques using phase plant. So let's go ahead and add the plugin over here. So one thing that's quite apparent is it seems that a lot of phase plant users have missed this sort of tutorials preset section over here. So this section has a couple of basics as to how the plugin handles certain things that are different to other plugins and such. And one of these is the arpeggios. So as you can see here, they're using a kind of square LFO to create arpeggios, and I kind of want to talk you guys through how to do such things. But I also want to show you a cool technique for creating sequences and stuff. So for those who are a little bit interested in diving into the basics, check out that tutorial preset. But otherwise, let's add just a basic saw wave for now. We can go ahead and alter the actual sound at a later stage. I'm going to put in one long MIDI note. It's an A again, I believe. So here, what we're going to do is just duplicate it across all the way along the bar. So we can kind of add the modulation to that as the arpeggiator. Anyway, one long MIDI note. So here what we want to do is we want to add in an LFO, set this to sync, and we want to set it to 1 bar. So here, what we can do is we can open up the LFO edit panel over here by clicking on this little pencil tool. And that opens your LFOs in a separate window, which you can resize. Pretty cool little thing, specifically for creating these Arps. Really cool because it allows you to punch in the exact number of axes that you want. So, as I may have outlined before, an octave consists of 12 semitones. So here what we've done is we punched in 24 on the y-axis, and that gives us 24 nodes to snap to. So what we're essentially doing is we're giving ourselves these kind of notes that we can then choose. And then if we know our scales, or we know our kind of like the notes that we usually transpose to, or the semitones that we usually transpose to, then creating these sequences and arps is going to be quite easy because we've kind of got these lines to snap to. You don't necessarily have to use your ear. If you haven't seen the tutorial that I did on Serum, using a similar technique, creating Arps with the LFO, this is essentially the same technique, but now we've got the ability to change the X and Y snapping axes. So for example, let's just punch in plus 24 for 2 notes, 0 for 2 notes, minus 24 for 2 notes, and create like a pattern like this. Up, down, etc., etc. We're going to come and edit it a little bit later, but I kind of want to outline to you guys what's happening here for those who may not be understanding it. So let's just exit that window, and you'll see now we've got this quick readout. So if you've got multiple of these, you can quickly see which pattern is doing what. But anyway, let's go over here to this and set this to modulate the semitones over here. If you right click on it, you've got the exact number that you can go ahead here and punch in. So let's say 24, because that's the amount of semitones that we divided this axis into. So now if we go ahead and we play the arrangement, it's going to do a sort of arpeggio style pattern. So it's obviously still pretty basic. So there's various ways you can go about editing this. You can create another LFO with like a sort of varying pattern to create these differences in the amplitude. Or like in my previous tutorial, you can use a transgate to kind of trigger these hits when you want them, or you could even create like a polymetric style thing. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the default and we're going to trigger this and see like what variations we can make using the same kind of pitch pattern, but changing these triggers to different hits in the arrangement. Getting a little bit boring, so I want to add just a slight bit of sine LFO to a filter that's on bandpass with a high Q, just to create like a little bit of movement in that sound. Okay, so I just muted some of those other synths so we can hear a little bit clearer what's going on here. So here we can actually dive in. We don't have to necessarily just stick to full octaves. If you're going with the minor scale, you can use semitones like 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 10. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 10 should be right for minor scales. So anyway, what we can do here is let's start adding in. Oh, my mouse is freaking out for some reason. So like 1, 2, 3. We can start adding in some notes in the scale in between here, just to give it some variation. Like 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think there was one wrong note there, but I think I've got it. This is sounding pretty cool. Let's have a listen to this. So as you can see, there's already like a ton of variation that you can do to it just by playing with a couple of these settings, creating your own, LFO patterns to a scale. You don't necessarily have to set these to 8 and this to 16. Like I say in almost every one of my videos, polymetric patterns is another way of kind of creating these variations that kind of always, that kind of never repeat. So here, for example, this will hit like the 12th step and restart again while this is going the full kind of 16. And the result is that it's going to like hit in at different notes while the rhythm kind of pertains to this like same pace, if that kind of makes sense. So listen to this. another cool trick that I like to do with this type of thing is to create like ramps, for example. Let's say here where we've got this kind of long ramp here, you know, we can kind of vary it. And let's say this one here, create some sharper curves this way, and maybe this one as well with like a not so steep curve. And let's hear what this sounds like. So literally by just playing with like the, you know, speed of the LFO, a couple of these kind of like parameters and, you know, whether the transgate is on or off, you have almost endless, you know, random possibilities to creating these arpeggiators. And as long as you kind of stick to these, you know, nodes in the LFO being snapped to like the semitones in the scale, it'll kind of always correlate to within like a certain pitch of the track that you're working in, or the scale of the track that you're working in. So I mean, for a lot of guys, that's not hugely important, but you know, for arpeggiators and stuff like that, I find it helps to, you know, bring everything together if you're kind of working within a particular scale or something like that. So another cool idea would be to kind of combine this with the video from either last week or a few weeks ago, where you kind of create these multi-layered sounds, and you could have like several different LFOs triggering different layers, going through different effects with transgates on them and stuff, and you could essentially create the entire, you know, synth bed for your track on just one instance of phase plant. You know, you could have your grids as well as your, you know, main lead ARP sound, you know, sequenced within the plugin itself. And, you know, having all these like hands-on capabilities and the fact that you can like save the patch and then recall it and just on a different project, change the key, tweak a few settings, and you've got like a signature sound already to kind of start off with, or to be like a backbone for a new track. It's going to increase workflow quite a bit. So, yeah. Hopefully that's a cool little technique for you guys. It's kind of simple if you've watched my Serum tutorial doing a similar thing, but this is cool because you're kind of breaking apart the LFO and the transgate. And the transgate's more of a traditional gated kind of pattern, and it's just a great combination of the two. So again, you can kind of vary this as much as you want, put all sorts of effects on here. You're not limited to doing a saw wave or anything like that, but yeah, hopefully that helps you guys out. Awesome, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys use different techniques to achieve similar sounds, then also let me know in the comments. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. I'm going to be uploading this preset along with maybe a variation or two to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. So if you want to check what that's all about, check out the link that's somewhere on the screen right now. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.